Okay, so take you into your leg kick. This is Aroldis Chapman. Take him into his leg kick. So you'll notice he's a little bit more turned away. I don't think you need to do this. You could if you wanted to a little bit more, but it really isn't that big of a deal. I just want you to notice his knee path. So that's what I meant by your knee going down. You see, you kick out to there, he kicks it down to here. Your hand is in a similar position. So there's a lot of things that are very similar. The thing is once your knee crosses your front hip, it happens a little bit sooner than his. So his happens right there, yours happens here. It's really not that big of a deal for your age, but that's just what I'm saying. You saw that path. You kind of kick your knee out. He kicks his knee down. We don't have to be as much as he is, but we want to be a little bit closer to that. Okay? I'm going to take you into foot strike. Okay? So where you're touching to where he's touching. Okay? And I just want you to look at the legs. Okay? So let's zoom in a little bit. Okay? Do you notice anything different between his legs and your legs?
Seems like his back leg is bent more than mine is.
Where are you seeing it?
Oh, it's like his knee is more bent than mine.
Okay, go down to the ankle and foot. Do you notice what the difference is between the ankle and the foot?
I think he's on his left foot's on his toes and mine might be on my feet.
Right, so if I zoom in to what your foot's doing, you're going to see that your laces are facing us, his laces are facing the ground. Okay, so that just means he doesn't have more bend than you, he has turned his hips more. So if my hip has turned more, then my laces will be facing the ground. Okay, take you all the way through, and I really don't see your hips come through until right about here. Okay, where I see his hips through right there. Okay, so we see his hips coming through a lot sooner than yours. Okay, so I go back to what's happening right here. I don't really see your right hip come through. I see your left glove side, I see your left arm kind of pulling down and creating rotation. It's really obvious when you're throwing separators in power position 1. Okay, so when you're in separators in power position 1, that's the time to start learning how do we get our hips to go ahead of our shoulders. Okay, so my biggest critique for you is, can you try to turn your hips before you turn your shoulders? Okay, so you'll hear me say this many times in the future. 80% of velocity can be attributed to your ability to rotate your hips ahead of your shoulders. Okay, so let's say this pitch that we see Aroldis Chapman throwing is 100 miles an hour. 80 miles an hour of his 100 can be attributed to simply his ability to rotate his left hip before he rotates his left shoulder. Okay? So I don't know that I'm seeing that. And maybe it's strength, maybe, we need to get stronger. It might be, though, that you just don't know to do that. And maybe you're just relying too much on your glove side to turn your shoulders. I was exactly like you when I played all the way through college from that standpoint. Okay? So that's really all I've got, is I just think we need to focus on using our hips to turn instead of using our glove side to turn. So hopefully this visual helps you see the difference.